What's going on, guys? Robert here, BP News Channel, once again live with you, breaking down the end time, prophetic end time news. Actually, it is the apocalypse. Actually, I think before Armageddon, the apocalypse happens, because what 2 Thessalonians chapter 2 says, for those who know their Bible, is that the revealing, the apocalypse just means the unveiling or the revealing. There's going to be a great disillusionment amongst the people. And this disillusionment has to do with what people thought was normal and what they felt comfortable with in terms of their beliefs being topsy-turvy, turned upside down. Times and signs and seasons are changed by technology and a new global order, a reset, a build back better, because things are about to be completely and utterly decimated. The way you thought things should be are not going to be anymore. Not only are they projecting that every human being is going to lose their job in the next 4 years, according to the AI predictions of how AI is going to gain, the abilities of AI. And for people that don't know anything about AI, you'll figure that out sooner than later. But just with what's on our plate right now, directly in front of us, is that we're on the brink of global third world war. And Donald Trump has basically played a fiddle, and many have danced and thought that he was telling them the truth. Now, there are many people, because you know why? It does sound convincing. But when you see the big picture and you realize either he's incompetent or he's just downright sold his soul, and I'm just going to say there is kind of a madness to this desire to gain, to rule the world. Everybody wants to rule the world. Remember that song? Everybody wants to rule the world. And Trump wants to rule the world. Trump has great aspirations. He's got a huge ego. One of the biggest egos I've ever seen, ever before on the whole planet. Besides Jesus, he's one of the biggest names ever. Now that's out of his own mouth, he looks at himself as the most famous person ever to have lived on planet Earth besides Jesus. He said that. And he's even stated that he's not going to let the end times happen because, Jesus is supposed to return to the Middle East to culminate the wars that bring about the end of things, which we call the wars that end all things, Armageddon and everything. He says he's not going to let that happen. He said prophets have said this, wise men have said this, but I will not let that happen. And he said it so emphatically, too. He was like, he said, I will not let that happen. We will not let that happen. He said it twice. That's like a stamp of approval. Like, this isn't, it's like when Jesus would say, verily, verily. There's a reason why he said verily, verily. It was a way to emphasize what was being said, to emphatically, bring that home, truly, truly, I say unto thee, verily, verily, I will not let that happen. We will not let that happen. But we're not going to let Jesus come back, because the prophets have to be wrong. The Bible cannot be true. This is not going to happen on my watch, because I have the board of peace, and I've got 7 heads underneath me on the top tier, managers or board members, and then there's another 10 under them, the middle tier board members. So you got 7 heads and 10 horns, and then the administrative board is below that. That's going to rebuild the Mediterranean, the Riviera on the Mediterranean. This prime real estate. It's going to make us lots of money. Everything's about money. Everything's about deals. Everything's about getting rich, being the ruler of the world by having all the money that you could ever gain. Making monetizing this war. I'm sure there are so many back doors here that we don't even, and I've seen some things that, I'm not going to go into all the details of what I really see happening here, but just the apparent things that everybody can see right now. We're going to talk about just the things that are in the news right now. First of all, they're saying that they're letting ships through. This is Trump's statements. We're letting ships through. We're getting through. We're escorting ships through. Everything's fine. Price of oil's going down. We're getting through there. Everything's great. Great. Don't worry about it. Get back to work. Don't think about this. Epstein files. Don't worry about all that. I know this is a big thing, but just listen to what I'm saying. I'm bringing peace. Peace to the world. Even though we're bombing everybody, in my mouth are smooth and silk, speaking butter, but out of my heart, drawing swords, just like the Bible says. You're going to smoosh everybody, flatter everybody, make them feel good. All the while, war's breaking out, global war. This wasn't under Biden. Nope. MAGA's waking up. Oh my gosh, they were so afraid Biden was going to start World War III. But we were telling you, this was coming under Trump. Trump had a side that a lot of people didn't see. And this is not the Trump many people said they voted for. Well, I didn't know that was him. I didn't know he was going to do this. Well, it's surprise. It's kind of like Jack in a Box. You just keep do, 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 and then all of a sudden pops out. What just happened? Alien coming out. What the heck? That dude's got an alien in his chest. Well, this is what's happening. America has just woke up to alien popping out of the middle of America and realizing we are in deep, deep doo-doo. We're in deep doo-doo. Got to go to bed. Good night, Elizabeth. Elizabeth, we just started. I know it's late. I started late, I know. And it's a late night for a lot of you guys. But, hey, you got a lot of people that love late night stuff. Everybody wants to hang out at night for some reason. It's kind of like the Art Bell crowd. All you guys out, Art Bell crowd out there, you're listening to me. The Art Bell crowd. West of the Rockies. But anyways, he is the Moonchild. And it's like these are all code words for everybody that's tapped in that knows what's going on. Aleister Crowley, Mr. Crowley, or Ozzy Osbourne, The Crazy Train. This is the MAGA train. Off the rails on the MAGA train. We're going off. But everybody loves it. Everybody's happy. They're like this is great. This ain't gonna happen. He said it's not gonna happen. I believe him. But hey, nothing can go through the Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz. You know why? It doesn't matter what they're telling you. They're trying to lead you to the very brink and the edge of what you think is 3 or 4D chess, and then you're going to wake up to the reality. Just like you woke up to the reality that nobody's going to jail, the Epstein files were a hoax. The same reality is coming to you on this war. Oh, well, I didn't think it was going to be that bad. I didn't think my son and my daughters were going to be in Iran. I didn't think that there was going to be all these caskets coming back. I didn't think it was going to be worse than Vietnam. I didn't think that we were going to be attacked on the homeland. I didn't think that the whole world was going to blow up. You didn't think that? Well, we knew that was coming. We told you this was coming. A lot of people mocked and made fun and said you were a doom and gloomer, Robert. How could you say these things, Robert? Well, I just said them again. And it's not gloating. It's vindication. Okay, it's vindication. And there's other people that have been telling you the same thing. And we've all been on the same boat and we've been out there on a limb telling people before it happened, in spite of the fact that many people were throwing eggs and tomatoes at us. We didn't care. We didn't care because we knew your world was going to blow up anyway. Okay, now we're in the same boat. I'm not making fun of you. I'm just saying it's better late than never that you woke up. Okay, you woke up. You're on the same boat. We're in the same boat. We need to pray for each other. We need to support each other. We need to keep each other, above, out of the water because the water's freezing. Titanic is sinking or is about to sink completely. And you need to have a life raft, okay? So whatever you have, you're going to have to try to survive because the environment's going to kill you if you're not prepared. Okay, you have no oil. Look at what's going on in Iran. You know, the things that are going on in all these other countries, they're out of oil. They can't even go to work. They can't even drive. Okay, no food in the stores. There's food riots going on. Okay, this is not going to just stay to the poor countries. This is going to come to America. This type of environment is going to be here too. Okay, you've got threats of Iranian drones off of our coast in California. Now, do you understand what that means? Okay, you know how many ships are off our coast? Do you think that they check every ship? Do you think they know what's in every one of those ships out there? Do you know that those ships can have containers that have these drones set in them, and they can start flying, 10 drones here, 20 drones here, coming into Los Angeles, Sacramento, Fresno, and they have targets. They've got targets. I'm sure that they have all their targets set of what they want to get. Can you imagine if that started happening? Oh, that would be our reason to nuke and to go full on and have everybody behind Trump. Everybody's going to get behind Trump on this one. Trump knows what's coming. That's why he's so He's so peaceful right now because he knows what's about to happen. But you don't. This is called the problem reaction solution. You stir the pot, everybody freaks out, and you're the savior. Once again, you're the savior. Just like everybody went toward him. My gosh, he's a Superman. God is with him. Look at that. He barely missed his ear. Just barely missed his head. Just took off a little piece of his ear. That's it. That's all that happened. Amazing. God must be with us. Thank God. Thank God. Amen. That's what everybody's saying. All these false prophets out there prophesying. It's just so sad, but that's what happens to prophets of Baal. They're going to be consumed. They're going to be consumed along with all of those who put their faith, their trust, and their money and their fortune behind them. They're going to be consumed with them. You threw your lot in and you gave your whole heart and soul to it. You believed a lie. And the Bible says that God gives people over to believe a lie, to believe the lie, it says. He gives them over to believe the lie. And what is the lie? That you're not right with him. And so God says, okay, you want your own will? You want your own way? Here you go. I'll give you something to believe in. You can have your belief. You can have your quail. Let it come out your nose. Let's just have as much as you want. All right? But you're not going to know what just hit you. You're not going to know. And you're never going to enter into the promise. You're going to die in the wilderness. And that's for whoever took the bait. You're angry. I'm sure you're angry. You're angry at me. You're angry at whoever else told you the truth. But you're not angry at Trump. Trump, for some reason, still, he's telling the truth. In your mind, even though everything's inconsistent, it's my fault, right? It's my fault for telling you the truth. Well, that's where consumption comes in. You're consumed by your own bad choices. That's not my fault. I tried to warn you. So we got drones coming in off the West Coast. Who knows what else is coming? I won't even speculate on that, but there ain't nothing going through the Strait of Hormuz. Price of oil went down, though. No, it didn't. It's going back up. It's over $100 a barrel again, and it's going to go way high. You know why? Because they probably invested where they probably brought it down just a little bit, and then all their grifters just went in. Full headlong. We're going to make money. We got oil coming out our ears, and we want this price to go skyrocketing. And this is what they want. This is what they want. They don't mind. They're going to manage this chaos. This chaos is going to come out, but you know who's going to pay the price? Your sons and daughters. The rich people don't care. They send their sons and daughters. You think Barron's going to go to Iran? You think they're going to send Barron to Iran? Probably not. Spencer, nothing's happened in Los Angeles. I didn't say anything was. I didn't say anything was. But they're saying that there's a potential that something can happen. And when they start putting out notices like that, they have intel for some reason. There's something going on. You better take note of why they're saying that. And I'm not saying it's just people saying it. This is coming from your intelligence agencies. They don't put that stuff out for no reason. Okay? They don't say that for no reason. There's a reason why they're telling the public this. Okay? Okay, yes. Spencer, no problem. I'm just saying that some people think, oh, nothing's happened here. Everything's cool. But hey, I didn't say anything was happening. But I'm just telling you, they're putting that out there. A lot of people are like, well, they're just saying that just to be cautious. There's probably people out there saying that. They're just saying this so they want to warn us in case. There might be some possibility that this could happen. But the reason why they're putting it out there is because they probably already know that it's happening, that they've already heard communication. They said the sleepers are waking up. And if you don't know what the sleeper cells are, they're waking up, supposedly, according to the government, right? You should be on alert. It says everybody should be on alert. Everybody should be aware. We're in danger. There's a red alert. And by the way, the doomsday plane was spotted in Fresno, California today. Did you hear about that? Why is the doomsday plane doing in California? Why is it there? Well, there's a command center in that plane, and that plane oversees warfare. And that's usually only over spots where there's war taking place. So there's got to be some kind of major event going on right there on the West Coast for that thing to be flying in that area. Did you guys hear about that? But anyways, we're going to go through the news. Yeah, exactly, Timothy. They're called Club K missile system containers. They look just like little container ships, but they're fitted with all kinds of special little treats that they're going to send out right off the coast. And remember, how many of you remember when all those drones were being spotted? Everybody was wondering, who are these drones? Where are these drones coming from? We're seeing drones that look like the size of cars flying around. They're the size of buses flying around. Are they aliens? What are they? Remember that? They're all over the place. Everybody's seeing them. And some people were saying they were coming off the coast. They were coming out of the water. They were coming right off the coast. Who was sending them in? They couldn't keep up with them. What are they? They're coming off the coast. They're over off the coast. Some were saying it was the Iranians. It was the Russians. It was the Chinese. They were coming from some out right off the coast where we couldn't see them, but they were coming out right from the ocean. What was that? Maybe this is what it is. Do you ever think of that? Yeah, the doomsday play has been out. Yeah, obviously, yeah, it has been. I'm not saying it hasn't been. There's been people saying it's spotted here and there, but it's significant when it's in an area where they're talking about, potential chaos. Now, did you hear that the Iranians are going to start targeting Google and Amazon and Palantir location, all these locations? They say these are now legitimate targets. They're going to start attacking American banks. Guys, what's going to happen when that starts happening? Are they going to be able to make good on this? Because they're still shooting missiles into Israel. It doesn't sound like they've really, they slowed down. Maybe they're calibrating all these other targets. Maybe they're not just wanting to hit Israel. Maybe they're really wanting to take down America, and they're looking at American targets right now, preparing for that. Maybe that's why the missiles incoming to Israel have slowed down a little bit. Maybe they've got other things they're planning here. Have you ever thought about that? Well, they're going after all these other targets in the UAE and Saudi Arabia and all the other countries, Doha and Dubai anywhere there's a base, they're targeting, and there's been some bases again on fire once again, and they're not slowing down. It doesn't look like to me, at least. And the proxies over there in Lebanon are going crazy right now. So supposedly Israel's going to be doing a big operation right now in Lebanon because there's been a huge amount of missiles coming in from the north, huge volleys of missiles coming in. So Israel's got their hands full on that, but they're still focused on taking Iran down. Now, there's been a huge amount of B-1s, B-2s, B-52s. They're all going over there for some reason. They're getting ready for some big event. You got the UK, the Brits going in there. They got the French going. They're sending their battleships in there. The French. Why? Because things are very... and I just see Trump giddy. Like I get a picture of him like sitting quietly, just so excited about what's happening, because this plays into the hand of controlling, especially with this board of peace that they've assembled. He's going to come out looking like, the lamb. We're just trying to. This was so dangerous. We knew that this was going to happen. That's why we wanted to preempt this. And this is what's happening now. It just happened. It's just like I Pet Goat. Remember in I Pet Goat when they bombed the mosque and all those demons come out of the mosque? Well, that's what we did. We basically just bombed. It's equivalent of bombing. When we took out the Ayatollah, it's equivalent of taking out the Dome of the Rock. I mean, we literally just like bombed the Dome of the Rock. What we did. We just let the demons out. The demons are now out. It's too late now. Now we're going to have to deal with the consequences, because now they're going to just attack everything. They don't care. They don't care now. But we pretty much put them in an existential state of mind where they're now thinking about heaven, and they're thinking about sacrificing their lives all around the world for their belief, because they see it as a holy war. We've already said it's a holy. Our administration just telegraphed to the whole Muslim world, the Christian world is going to kill you. This is what they just said. This is what Trump said. If you're a Christian and you believe in Jesus, and you don't believe in war if you're a true believer, but Trump basically just said to the whole Muslim world, we're Christians and we're going to come and kill you. That's what he said, essentially. That's exact. We're crusaders and we're coming into your land and we're going to kill. And then you know what Trump said? Trump said this. Well, that tomahawk, because there's video of a tomahawk coming down and hitting that girl's school, right? That school for girls. I think it was girls. It was like, 150, 170 girls, little kids got killed. And then we tried to say that it was probably Iran that did it. They probably did it to themselves. They killed their own kids. They shot a tomahawk into their own school. There's only about 3 or 4 countries that have tomahawk missiles. So when they asked the Trump administration, Trump's there and Hegseth is there, they denied it. But Trump basically said, well, we're investigating it. It could have been Iran. It could have been they could have did it to themselves. So they're not dismissing the fact that it was a tomahawk, because you could see it coming in as a tomahawk has a special signature, and this missile was videotaped coming in. There's no denying it was a tomahawk. So who shot it? Did the Iranians? Do they have a tomahawk missile system? And they decided to shoot it and to blow up their own kids' school. And then I heard somebody in the chat room say, well, these Muslims, they use their children as human shields. Now, the Iranians, you might think that about Hamas, but Iranians don't do that kind of stuff. Iranians don't do that kind of thing. The average Iranian. And for them to have a Tomahawk missile system is not even close to even anything like that ever being possible, because the only ones that have Tomahawk missile systems are UK, Japan, Australia, and the United States. I think it was four countries. There might be one other one there. I think it might Saudi Arabia might. I don't even know if Saudi. I don't even know if Saudi Arabia is. I heard it was like 4 or 5. Okay, those are the 4 that I know for sure. My supercell says not beyond belief. What do you mean? What's not beyond belief? And I'm not saying that the Iranian government and the Iranian Ayatollahs and Shiite Muslims, I'm not saying that they're angels. I'm not saying that they're, like I said, I'm not saying anything about them not being antagonistic toward Western thinking. Okay? I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that they're not enemies of our culture, but I don't think that they've just gone out of their way to attack us. I don't see them setting up shop. You know, if anything, I think that they anticipate us doing what we did and they've prepared for it in some way. I think they have prepared for what they're doing for a long time. They just like they built all those missile cities. Those missile cities in those mountainous regions. And those mountainous regions are all over. I mean, you know, if you look at Iran's topography, there's just a huge amount of mountain ranges, and they build right into those mountains. Deep inside of those mountains, they're building those big complexes. There's no way. I mean, maybe nukes, if they know where to hit, maybe they can collapse some of them in. I don't know, but it's going to take a lot of nukes, and it's going to have to be nukes if it's going to be something that's going to even potentially do something that's going to get at those deep underground cities. They call them missile cities. Not just one missile city, they're missile cities. And they overlook that whole Gulf area where all those Gulf states are. They're like it's like shooting shooting fish in a barrel. You know, they're up there, they got the high ground, and they can do whatever they want to those cities down, or those countries, whatever they are down there. Or they're overlooking the strait there, you know, right off the strait. That whole region is all Iran. And so now Trump says, oh, yeah, we're escorting. No, we're not. We haven't gone through there. That was a lie. That wasn't true. They walked it back. They were making the public believe that it was all good and everything was happening and happy talk, hopium talk. But the reality is we're not. And so now the price of oil going back up. And because you know what? I think the markets are beginning to see a pattern. And I think the pattern has now come to a complete full circle. That now people realize, oh, okay, so this is BS. It's always been BS. And there really is nothing to it. It's kind of like this happy talk before you go bankrupt. And even after you go bankrupt, you still have happy talk and say, hey, I made money off of bankruptcy. You know, and I've done it 8 times, but nobody's getting paid, but I still made money and I still have my tower. My tower is not going to be, confiscated to pay off my debtors because it's worth something, or maybe the Israelis came in and paid it all off. Because, you know, the Israelis supposedly did pay off a lot of Trump's debt. Just like they went in and bought Kushner's building, you know, that building 666 that Kushner had. He was in it deep. It was one of it was one of the most expensive buildings ever purchased in New York City, and he was upside down in that building. And then some rich Kuwaiti, I think it was a Kuwaiti prince or something, came in and just scooped it up and gave him what he wanted for it. And I guess he made some, money off it, $1 billion on the building, the 666 building, and that was under Trump's first admin, I think. So, there's a lot of backdoor deals going on there, but, I'm just saying, when you tell people things and then it doesn't happen and then you still say you won, but everybody else lost, then you start realizing, hey, I'm following somebody that doesn't really care about my interests. And then you start waking up. And then what do? You start having to think differently. Reality is you may not fare well unless maybe you're a part of the government or something, and maybe you're one of their assets. Maybe you'll get some cheese. Maybe you'll get, the chocolates. Maybe you'll get the good little things sent to you for a little while during the war. The other people aren't going to get that, but you might, because you're towing the party line. You're doing the dirty deed. You're only taking orders. But hey, you might live a little longer. Okay. All right. Now, they're saying that the strait, there's only about a 2-mile area, supposedly, that the ships can go through. Now, there's a big, it's miles wide, but there's only a certain area that the ships are allowed to go through or something to that nature. So those 2-mile area zone there that all these ships have to go through is where they're supposedly mining. But they've got underwater drones. You know, when you're talking about underwater drones, you're talking about things that swim, you know, kind of like torpedoes, but they're unmanned and they can, you know, be directed like a drone. So you got those. You've got those speedboats that are drones. You know, they're very quick and nimble, and they can swarm a ship. They can have, you know, 10 or 15 of them coming at a ship all different ways. Zoom, 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 you know. And one of them's going to hit, and they're filled with highly explosive ordnances, you know, that can probably do some very bad damage. And so you've got those, and then you've got the ones that come from the sky, and then you've got the hypersonics. There ain't nothing going through there that they don't want to go through. I'm just going to tell you right now. And if the U.S. says they're going to escort, well, that's why the Iranians are like, come on in, try it. That's what they're telling America. They're not. They don't even seem like they care. They're not even afraid. They're like, this is what our end time prophecies have told us was going to happen. They were waiting. They were waiting for this moment. It seems like they had it all planned, and they had the way their high command, it's all broken up so that if something happens here, it still continues. Nothing is going to be thwarted in their operation of unfolding the attacks. So you could it's like a snake. You cut off, or I don't know if you've ever seen a snake. You cut one part of the snake off, it still wiggles around. It can still bite you. You cut off another, it's still wiggling around. I'm going to tell you what, I killed rattlesnakes. I used to live up in the mountains in rattlesnake territory, and we had a big old snake den in the backyard. Some of you guys might remember the videos I posted. I posted a bunch of videos of me killing rattlesnakes, and I cut the head off this one, and the thing's still moving around. The mouth was still trying to bite me, even though it's separated from its body. And it moved around for almost 10 hours. The thing was still squirming around. 10 hours later. And so you think that you're going to somehow decapitate, but it's not going to really decapitate. It's just going to morph into something else. There's all these different tentacles. Or like an octopus, you know. You cut off an octopus's tentacle, and it grows back. There's still like 10 more tentacles. They're gonna pull you in. So let's get into the news. I know there's a lot of news here. Pretty amazing things that are happening right now. I'd say I'm pretty always amazed when I look at the news right now. So let me just get myself in here and let's put up the Telegram page as we always do. Start looking at what's going on here. Let's see what Donald Trump just said. Donald Trump just said something here. Let's see what Donald Trump just said. Well, what is this? Let's take a look. We're looking at Donald Trump's Telegram page. He's got 644,000 subscribers. This is 4th Congressional District. Oh, he's having a good time there with one of his people, combat veteran Ed. Okay, let's see. Congrats to Clay Fuller. Okay, Clay Fuller is going to fantastic congressman. Okay, I predict that Representative Tom Massey will go down as the worst Republican congressman in the long and fabled history of the United States. Even worse than crazy Liz Cheney. Really. Crying at Adam Kinzinger and Marjorie Taylor Brown. Wow. Oh, Marjorie Trader Brown. Really? This is so below. I mean, people that understand what's really happening here and what these people are saying that he's criticizing. It's kind of like a bully. It is like a bully. Some people might be gravitating towards some bully, but eventually that bully, and like I said, if Trump is who I think he is, it's going to take Jesus to come put that bully in its place. That's all I'm going to say when Jesus returns. If this is really what we believe it is, and you got to look at the scriptures. Remember, I was telling you about the apocalypse. Okay, what the apocalypse is. If you go to 2 Thessalonians chapter 2, I never did clarify this. The apocalypse just means, when you say the apocalypse, you're talking about the unveiling or the revealing. That's what apocalypse means. It doesn't just necessarily mean, the crazy end times. People are always thinking apocalypse means, dystopian, crazy, end time, hellscape, dystopian, nightmarish fallout from World War III. You think of that as the apocalypse. No, apocalypse just means the unveiling or the revealing. Right. And so what does it say in 2 Thessalonians 2? That man, that son of perdition, the lawless one, the one who is a law unto himself, not subject to any law, right? He makes all the laws. He is revealed. People begin to see who he is. It's called the apocalypse. And then when that happens, concurrently, 2 Thessalonians 2, I think it's verse 3, says there's a falling away. That means that there's a coldness. And a falling away from what? A falling away from morality, from spirituality, from the true faith that is the foundation of Western, I would say Western civilization in general, the foundation of basic tenets of faith and belief. You could say Abrahamic covenant, because Abraham's covenant affected all three major religions. But obviously we know where the promise went. The promise was to his seed. Abraham's seed ultimately came about. The seed of Abraham was the coming of Messiah, right? Who revealed the path and the way. And a lot of these faiths do believe in Jesus. I mean, Muslims, they hail Jesus. They say he's a prophet. They say peace be upon him, and they look at him as a holy prophet. But the Jews, obviously, they don't like him. And if they even say they even believe in him, but they kind of despise the historic Jesus. Now, they'll put up with Christians. The Holy Land is a big, it's a big racket there. There's a lot of people coming there. So, hey, might as well market it, might as well. Don't say anything bad to offend. Just let it keep rolling in until we're done, until we rule the world, because really, in Jewish eschatology, they are supposed to eventually take over the whole world. If you really study Jewish eschatology, they believe that the Messiah is going to come and he's going to facilitate these wars that are going to put them in a position, not only with the technology being the hub center of where they expand, right? The Greater Israel Project, right? They're going to expand and they're going to dominate in the latter day, which is what they believe. They're going to establish the third temple, and that third temple will be the redemption of Israel. They call it the redemption is drawing nigh. That means that their temple is getting close to being rebuilt. And the one that facilitates that temple rebuild, none other than DJT, who they have anointed as their Messiah. If you don't know this, the Hasidic rabbis believe that Trump fulfills prophecies in their Talmud and their Zohar and in the Torah. They believe that he's Esav, which is Esau, and that he reconciles with brother Jacob in the last days. They reconcile and they make amends, and then he brings his whole kingdom in submission to Jacob. Just like Moses rose up from Egypt, destroyed Egypt, and ultimately liberated the Jews. just like Cyrus, a non-Jewish Messiah, who was Persian, by the way. So I don't know why they have a problem with the Persians when actually Cyrus was one that liberated them the first time and got them their temple and back into the homeland. But they say Trump is another Cyrus, right? Another Cyrus that represents the nations of the world at Edom or Esau. And Esau will one day reconcile with Jacob. And this is where we're at, the reconciliation and the destruction of that order to submission to a house of prayer for all nations, which they believe is going to be the Noahide law that's going to be extended to all the nations. If you're going to be a part of what's going on globally under the New Jerusalem, which they believe is their new order, the center of all faith and worship is going to be right there, they believe, and power. They believe that Noahide law has to be extended to the nations. If you're a Christian, you're an idolater. Anybody who's an idolater under Noahide law, when this rule comes into play, is worthy of death. Okay, that's what Noahide law teaches. It's kind of like Sharia law. You know, Sharia law has its dictates, and people say, oh, Sharia law, terrible. Well, Noahide law is very similar under the Jews. But they don't institute it until the Messiah comes, until temples rebuilt. That's when Noahide law comes into real effect. That's when they start making courts all over the world. And they're planning this. They're planning for these Noahide court, these rules to be mandated through the court system. They have their own courts, right? I forget what they call them. But Trump's right on board. I mean, he's met with these guys. If you ever seen the pictures, he's right there amongst them, and supposedly converted. That's why he was at Rabbi Schmierzen's grave, putting his little prayers in there. Remember that? Did anybody ever see that? Here, I'll just show you a little picture of this really quick. I think this is interesting here, conversation here that we get in here. People should know what's really going on spiritually behind the scenes here, because this has everything to do with what's happening. That's why they called it a holy war. Our own government has called it a holy war. Did you miss that? Did you miss that a while back? Yeah, it's a holy war, they're saying. This is what they're saying. I'm not saying it's a holy war. Trump's saying it's a holy war. Hegseth is saying it's a holy war. All of the 4 branches of military, 5 branches probably, are all telling their top brass it's a holy war. And they're ushering in the return of Jesus. They're telling them this, okay? This isn't some crazy people on YouTube talking about this. This is our military. So there's a whole bunch of missiles coming in right now. Let's see. Where are we at here? Is it Tel Aviv again? No, it's Haifa. It's all above Haifa. So this is just now 9:36. Yeah, 2 minutes ago, Haifa. So that's got to be Iran. Should we look at this? Let's just look really quick and see if we see anything. There's Haifa over here. Let's take a look for just a minute. See if we see anything. Because we're kind of out in front of this. Usually it takes a minute before the alerts go off. Haifa is up there at the top left, and it's got the sound on, so you should be able to hear something. If any missiles come in, you'll hear it right there. Tel Aviv is right below. But I don't think you're going to hear anything in Tel Aviv. I think it's going to be Haifa there that you're probably going to hear something if you do. Let's just see for a minute. Y'all having fun? Everybody having fun? While you're waiting, let me turn this down here. Just while we're sitting here for a minute, we're doing seed kits. Okay, I'm going to be doing And I'm not going to say infomercial. I'm going to actually be showing people how to grow microgreens and sprouts with this system. Okay, we're doing broccoli sprouts are probably the best kind of food you could with the phytonutrients and all the dense vitamins and minerals that are in a seed that sprouts. Not to mention the fact that it goes into the. Let me turn this down. Why do we have such a loud voice and loud background sound there? It's the 7 to 14 day period of a seed is where all the power of that seed is released. In fact, in a broccoli, any of the broccoli strains, or what they call the I forget, they're a family of a vegetable. It's like the radish, broccoli, kale. Any of those have a really dense amount of these phytonutrients and other things that are in it. I can't remember all the. I'll show you guys the video on this. It's really important to understand, because what happens is you'll get a concentrated amount. Instead of eating like 7 cups of broccoli, you can eat a small amount of these microgreens and get the same amount and even more. It's kind of like 10 to 100 times more than what you would be eating after it's fully grown. It's all condensed in that 7 to 14 day period. So and plus there's no pesticides on it, no Roundup on it. These are all organic seeds, and you can pretty much get your vegetable intake by doing sprouting. And in fact, you get a can, like a 5-gallon can, or not a 5-gallon, but a 5-pound or a 10-pound. That will last you for a year at least, even with 2 or 3 people. It only takes like a little teaspoon or a tablespoon, and you'll have a big old crop of microgreens. I'm going to tell you what, people are going to be needed to learn how to do this urban farming, because if you're in a city or you're in a place where you can't have a plot of ground, you're going to need to learn how to do this. And it doesn't take that much. You just have like 3 or 4 trays, maybe 5 trays, and you rotate them one every 3 or 4 days, and or maybe even less than that, maybe one every week, because if you got a little plat like that and you got a lot of greens on it, hey, you're set, man. Just stick it in whatever you're going to eat, and you've got your vegetable intake, pretty much the good stuff, And you could do all different types of sprouts. So I'm really getting into the sprouting thing because I know that it's a part of your nutrition that you're going to need, especially when everything starts really hitting the fan. I think gas prices are going to skyrocket over $200 a barrel. I think it's going to go higher than that. This is going to get so bad, I think. My personal thought of where this is going, it's going to affect everything. Remember how in COVID it was a shortage and it turned into everything shortage? They said it was a shortage on this or a shortage on that. It was a shortage on this. Oh, then it turned into an everything shortage. Chips, couldn't get your cars, couldn't get your trucks, couldn't get anything. Couldn't get computers, no computer. It was just, everything was shut down. You couldn't get anything. It's going to be like that, but worse. And I think it's going to last a lot longer if it's ever even going to go away. And I don't know. There's a lot of people that think that this could be it for the American dollar as well. And that all this hopium talk of Trump being the crypto capital of the world, it's all just smoke and mirrors. Maybe not for the U.S., but maybe he's going to be on a global stage now that he's got his global international body. Maybe he'll be out of the country when everything happens. Who knows? And America will just be turned over and devoured and parceled up. Who knows? I just don't have a real positive outlook. Okay. So in the meantime, you're going to have to understand, what does it take to really, get through whatever's coming? And you're probably not going to, like I said, if this is Titanic, you got to be thinking about how many people are not going to make it. There is a reality to that. And that's just a, ugly truth. People are not going to make look at what's going on in other countries right now. Think about this. You've got countries right now that are having food riots. All these Southeast, East Asian countries, they can't even go to work. They don't even have gas. There's no gas. All right. What happens when you don't have gas? Your economy shuts down. What happens when your economy shuts down? No food. how do they get food to your supermarkets? They're going to have to live off of whatever people around them are doing. Farmers, right? Local farmers, if they even have, and so those types of countries are more about local farming. So they might have a better chance of survival. But, if it happens here in the United States, most people don't know how to do anything anymore. They used to, unless you live in some rural area, and people that get it, that are kind of working together, they're going to probably maybe fare a little bit better. But even still, if it affects the way I think it's going to affect our economy and our dollar, I think our dollar is going to collapse. And I think it's going to ripple through the whole world. And this is what they call the Great Reset. This is what they've been telling the whole world that the United States is going to usher in this new global order of nations. But maybe it's going to be on the back of the carcass of what is left of America. That's what I think may bring about this new golden age. I don't know, because it looks to me like Trump is setting his design and plan, and he's got his focus on what's going on over there near Israel, if you ask me. His royal tents are being pitched, as Daniel chapter 9, verse 27 says. Trump Gaza Hotel, wasn't it right there? Trump Gaza Hotel. I mean, you got the Saudi king right there building that whole Oman city, or I forget what they call it. It's just like $1.5 trillion palace with golf courses and everything, sitting right there between the Holy Mount and the sea, just like it says in 9:27 Daniel. He's going to pitch his tent between the Holy Mount, and that Holy Mount is Mount Sinai. Mount Sinai is right there. And you got the sea right there. Well, it could either be there or it could be right there in Gaza, because Gaza's going to take a little while to rebuild. But that's also between the Holy Mount, which is the Temple Mount, and Mediterranean, right? So you could say there's two potential places that there could be a holy pitching of royal tents. And I think that Trump may, in fact, be thinking about like that. That's what because he kind of seems to me like he's got his, and I'll tell you a little story. I was telling my wife, we were talking about this, and I said, honey, and I said this was so vivid, because when it happened, I was like, that's a sign to me. That's a total and complete confirmation of what I think is really happening with Trump. And that was that I said to her, I said, if Trump is that person that fulfills prophecy in this particular way of thinking here, eschatologically, if he is that person, then he would have to be in the vicinity of Israel. He would have to be, because the scripture says that's what happens when it all culminates. He's there. He's there. He's in that area. Okay? And that would be geographic. And you would say, well, if he's president of the United States, he wouldn't be there, right? He's too far away. That's not his place. It wasn't even a week later. I even think it was a couple of days after I had said that this Trump Gaza Hotel video came out, and how they said, oh, America now owns Gaza, and we're going to be rebuilding, and this going to be a Mediterranean by the Riviera. And it shows Trump sitting there with pina coladas and drinking with Netanyahu on the beach, eating, and money flying out everywhere, and a beautiful, city that's AI-driven city, smart city, sprawled out, not to mention their plan of a Ben Gurion canal that goes through there. That's going to be a big moneymaker. And saying that it's prime real estate, Trump talking about how this is a great investment, prime real estate, we're going to parcel it out for money. This is what the Bible says that he would do. He would take the land and parcel it out for payment. And that's exactly what he's doing. And then he has a board of peace, and he's the chairman of the board that he has self-appointed. 7 top-tier board members and 10 middle-tier board members. 7 heads, 10 horns, right? I don't know if they've changed those numbers, but in the beginning it was 7 and 10. And then there's a 3rd tier that's the administrative board that rebuilds, right? It's in charge of the rebuilding. And that's obviously people that pay into it to be on that board. You pay $1 billion and you get into the you're in the club and you're a part of the membership. But Trump is the head of that board of peace. Does that not sound biblical to you? He's a horn. The Trump is a horn. That's what a Trump is. It's a horn. What does it talk about? The little horn. And what does that little horn do? It rises up and it makes great boasts. What does Trump do the best? He's a boaster. Everybody says he boasts more than anybody boasts. Doesn't he fit? Doesn't he fit it? Some will say, well, he's not an Assyrian. He doesn't come from the Middle East. He can't be the guy. Well, they say the Assyrians migrated right there into the lands right around Germany. And where's Trump's heritage? Germany. So that would be the Assyrian, right? As many people say he is. He's an Assyrian, right? All I'm saying is take a bigger picture of you back if you're scripturally aware of, and a student of eschatology. And I would say you'd have to be a student of the Lord Jesus first in order to really even understand prophecy, because he's the only one that can really make it clear to you anyway. Okay? The testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. So if you don't have the spirit of prophecy, it's because you don't know the Lord. You could sit there and be an armchair analyst cerebrally of doctrine and still not know Jesus. All I'm saying is, I don't care how many timelines you have, how many people you've listened to and used your head to try to figure it out. If you don't know Jesus, you ain't getting it. You're not going to be seeing the mysteries that are hidden, that the angel told Daniel would not be open until the time of the end. This book of prophecy, the angel told Daniel, this book will be sealed until the time of the end. I think that's the way he said it. And that all has to do with the Prince of Persia, because the Prince of Persia was why that revelation to Daniel was withheld for 21 days. There was a battle between the Prince of Persia and the overseer Michael of Israel, right? So this prophecy, it says, was for the latter day, and it was to be sealed until that time. Nobody would know what it meant until the time of the end. That's when the book is unsealed. And what does it say? The Prince of Persia withstood Michael from delivering the prophecy. And here we are, Prince of Persia, right in the middle of it, and it's unsealed, and it's being unsealed right now. And this is going to be an unveiling where everybody's going to know. People that are even not right with the Lord are going to know. I think. I believe it's going to be that clear. But mostly those who are the saints, they're going to know. So anyways, I guess it didn't happen. Let me see. It didn't look like it happened, so nothing happened. Let me see. Let me go back here. I don't hear any alarms. Usually I just scroll it back for a minute. Okay, so nothing happened. Okay, so let's go back here. All right, so getting back to our news cycle here. Let's see what's up. Okay, Iraq has just shut down all of its port operations after Iranian attacks and oil tankers off its coast. Okay, so what happened here? Let's see. Iraq has just shut down all its port operations after... Oh, I'm sorry, Iraq. Okay, Iraq. I was thinking Iran for some reason. So Iraq is now shut down. And, Iraq has a lot of Sunni or a lot of Shiite Muslims as well. But the government, I think, is still subject to U.S. rule. I think we kind of have a puppet government in there. But there are a lot of Shiites that are still trying to gain control of Iraq. And by the way, I think they want the Shiites and the Muslims to fight. That's why what we were telling Saudi Arabia to get in the fight. Hey, Saudi Arabia, come on, get in here and fight with us, because they're Sunni. And if they can get the Sunnis to fight with the Iranians, oh boy, that's something that we would like. I think that would be hell. It's kind of like what was happening with Iraq and Iran war. You had the Iraqis, which were Sunnis, fighting with the Iranians, which were the Shiites, right? That Iraq war during the 80s was huge. And that kind of balanced out the power. They just kind of neutralized each other, and we just sat back. Well, they want the Saudis to get involved now, and the Saudis are like, wait, you know what? I don't know if we want to do this. You know, like we're already being attacked. I don't know if we want to get attacked even more and have to engage fully. But America kind of wants that. You know, it's kind of like the Israelis wanting the Americans to come in. You know, come on in, help us out. Take the brunt of all the, you know, the tax here, you know, like help us. And I think that's kind of what we want with the Saudis to come in. Brent crude now is over $100 a barrel. Let's see what it is now. Let me just look. I'm going to take a really quick look. It says here, Brent crude is now 93.67. Did it go up to 100? It's going up, but it's not at 100. So I'm not sure where that report came from, but it's going back up. It definitely is going up. It was at 85 earlier today. It's at almost 95. So it's getting close, but it's not at exactly 100 yet. But I think it will be, no doubts. No doubts. When everybody finally figures out that what Trump was saying wasn't true, Trump's words made the markets calm. But it's a false calm. It's a false peace. Because really what's happening, if you just know what you're looking at, you know it's not true, what he's saying. And when people realize it's not true, then it goes back up to $120, $150 a barrel. It's going to go higher. It's even going to go higher than that when they realize how bad it is. U.S. Navy warns that the Strait of Hormuz has become an Iranian danger zone for ships trying to cross it. This is Wall Street Journal. So now they're admitting, oh, Trump said that we're able to get through, no problem. We'll just escort them through, no problem. Oh, now they're saying, nope, it's a danger zone. Bad news. Look at this. This ship is on fire. It's a golden age. The economy's hot, hot, hot. Oil is at the center of this hot, hot economy. What does it say? 2 foreign tankers carrying Iraqi fuel oil were attacked within the territorial waters of Iraq within the last hour. I wonder who did that. A total of 25 crew members aboard the vessels have been evacuated so far by authorities in Iraq. Trump has said that he claims that the Strait of Hormuz is in great shape. Great shape. It's in great shape. And that the U.S. is able to ride free range up and down and near Iran. Really? Is that more hopium talk? Is that like Epstein files are going to be released here real soon and there's going to be a lot of people going to jail? Hillary's going to jail? All the swamp's going to be drained? All kinds of people going to jail? All these stimulus checks are going to be given to the American people with all this money they're making? It's a golden age? What happened? Let's listen to what Trump had to say here. Let's listen to him in his own words. This was just earlier today. Now, I'm sorry about that. That hopium meme wasn't meant to be. Let me make sure I get that squared away here. What happened to my hopium? Okay, where did it go? Oh, that's not the right one. What did I do? Hold on one second. Okay, here we go. What did I do here? Okay, there we go. Now we're cooking. Can you hear? Can you smell what the Rob is cooking? Okay, here we go. This is Trump.
Department buy oil futures as a means to keep the oil prices down or bring the oil prices down?
Well, we're going to be in very good shape. You see what's happening. They are pretty much at the end of the line. Doesn't mean we're going to end it immediately, but they've got no Navy, they've got no Air Force, they've got no anti-air traffic, anything. They have no systems of control. We're just riding free range over that country. And now we're going to look very strongly at the Straits. The Straits are in great shape. We've knocked out all of their boats. They have some missiles, but not very many. I think we're in very good shape.
Very good shape, huh? Well, it doesn't sound like that's what they're telling behind the scenes. That's not what they're saying, because it doesn't seem like we've even gone through there yet. I don't think we've even gotten our boats through there yet, have we? Have we had the guts to go through there yet? I don't think so. I don't think we've gotten through there yet. I don't think we've escorted not one ship through there yet. I don't think that we want to see what's going to happen. I don't think we want to get a black eye from some hypersonic or some submersible drone or some speedboat swarm or, flying drones. I don't know. I just think there's too many factors that could potentially make us look even worse than we already do. Everything's fine. U.S. officials have confirmed that Iran has laid mines in the Strait of Hormuz. Oh, I guess we're going to just run right over it. I guess we got those mine sweepers, huh? Well, I thought they blew up all the mine boats. Didn't they say earlier today or yesterday that they blew up like 25 mining ships? Ships that bring mines in? Iranian drone strikes hit Oman's largest oil facility. Chinese workers captured the moment of impact. Oh, let's look at this one. This ought to be interesting. Let's take a look. Is he saying what's up? Is he saying what's up? What's up? He's like, what's up? I did not know this was going to happen. What's up? We too low. Something wrong. Bing bang ow. This is not right. Oh boy, that's not good. So it says a massive fire coming from storage tanks in the Mina petroleum facility at the port of Salah, Oman, after a suspected Iranian attack. Ooh, it got big. Big and ugly. Yep, it got worse. And you know all that black smoke, hydrocarbons and everything else, this is what the Gulf War syndrome was. Why a lot of people got cancer and still are dying to this day because of that, is because all of those oil wells were burning. It looked like a hellscape. You couldn't even see the sun for many, many days. This is what's happening in the Middle East right now. You've got clouds that are raining down oil. People are literally breathing in this toxic stew that is causing irreparable damage to their lungs, to their body, their cells, in their bodies, and will cause cancer into the near future. There's going to be all kinds of people getting cancer that are under these clouds. So sad. Another impact reported in Dubai, the UAE, this time near Dubai International Airport. Look at this one. Let's take a look at that one.
Yeah, you want to park? Hold on. What are you scared?
Yeah, you see it back there in the back? It's right back there.
What are you scared of?
So that was in the UAE. Tel Aviv skies. This was in Tel Aviv today. See, that looks like a hypersonic. Yep. I'm not sure if there was impacts there. I think there might have been impacts today. It says direct impacts reported in the last Hezbollah RI. So this was Hezbollah and the Iranian Revolutionary Guard joint attack on central Israel today. Look at this one.
Yeah.
I don't know if you saw how fast that thing came down, but that's a hyper. See, these are missiles coming in here, and these are also air defense. But look at how fast the hypersonic comes in.
Yeah.
You see how fast that thing comes in compared to the other missiles? That's a hypersonic, and those are very hard to get because they actually can maneuver as well. Some of these hypersonics that Iran has can maneuver and outwit even air defense. But they're coming in at Mach 10, Mach 15. I mean, they've got these things coming in quick. So nothing stopped that one. That one came right through. And Iran said yesterday, or I think it was yesterday, that they're going to start rolling out their heavy weapons. They're going to start rolling out nothing that's going to come in from missiles now is going to be under a ton. So they're bringing in their big guns, their big warheads, and they're going to be delivering these things now. But I thought that they were totally, completely decimated. I thought they were not able to mount a defense or an offense. What's going on? I thought they were over and done. What's happening? Iran hacktivists, this is hacking, have claimed credit for the cyber attack on U.S. medical device maker Stryker, remotely wiping out employee device and stopping operations. Stryker makes the defibrillators and surgical imaging equipment. The Iranian hacker collective, Handala, mentioned above in recent posts, claims they targeted Stryker in retaliation for U.S. bombing of all-girls school in Iran. They say they have wiped out more than 200,000 Stryker systems, servers, and mobile devices, and stole 50 terabytes of critical data, forcing Stryker offices in 79 countries to shut down. Wow. I told you, the Iranian hackers are pretty formidable in the world of hacking. India shuts down fertilizer plants, unable to get LNG after Qatar stops production. Indian production is grinding to a halt. Wow. Global urea prices were already up in the last days, where farmers can't fertilize or yield crop. Yields will drop, right? They're not going to be able to yield their crops, or their crops are not going to give any yield. This means less food, and it's going to be more expensive. And this is going to be happening around the world, not just in these poorer countries or what we might think are third world countries. It's going to happen everywhere. Everything is going to go up. This is why I would tell you to go out and get storable food. Like, I would say stock up on rice, the staples, sugar, coffee, beans, these things that are stored for long periods of time, that you can, have basic essential nutrients, learn how to have a little garden, learn how to be self-sustained, learn how to hunt, fish, get around other people that know how to do these kind of things. Make sure you're out of the way. because you might live a little bit longer than the average bear if you do. Just saying. Iran says the Strait of Hormuz is under full control. This is according to the IRGC Navy, but I thought their whole Navy was taken out. Maybe it is, maybe it isn't. Who knows? We're listening to our side. We don't know what's going on the other side, or what we're being told is true. Maybe they're lying to us too. Who knows? We'll see. We're going to find out here real soon. The Los Angeles County Sheriff Department says it's on elevated alert amid global events and the ongoing Middle East conflict. Authorities are increasing patrols around places of worship and key sites, monitoring potential threats and urging residents to report suspicious activity. And this is just your average, Joe on the street, right? This is just potential events that could happen because somebody is pissed off and wants to do something crazy, right? Or it could be sleeper cell activity too, where there's teams of people doing something. You never know. This is what Los Angeles is now preparing the public for. Food prices could rise as Iran conflict disrupts fertilizer supply chain. The war in Iran could raise global food prices as the conflict disrupts fertilizer shipments through one of the world's most critical trade routes. And we told you that. The Strait of Hormuz is where a huge amount of global fertilizer trade traverses. While energy markets have focused on oil supply risks, analysts say threats to fertilizer supply chains through the Strait of Hormuz may also bring long-term economic issues through food inflation. This is coming from CNBC. Farmers across the country are grappling with rising fertilizer costs ahead of springtime planting seasons. Quote, we've had this huge jump in fertilizer prices because of this conflict. With 30% of fertilizer coming through the Strait of Hormuz, we've only been in conflict for 12 days here, and our fertilizer costs have jumped 77%. This is in America, guys. This is in America. You know how much that's going to increase your food? But hey, Trump lowered prices on eggs. Isn't that something? I mean, the price of gas was low. It was at one time. But what else? Meat prices have gone down a little bit because we're importing a bunch of crap meat from other countries that don't have standards and that feed their cows, dead cows, as food, and you're eating it. But that's okay. That's okay. As long as your food prices are down and it looks good and it sounds good and it feels good, you're going to eat it no matter what, right? Okay, let's listen in.
Fertilizer, those that need to buy are hurting pretty bad because we've had this huge jump in fertilizer prices because of this conflict. And, with only about 30% of fertilizer coming through the Strait of Hormuz, that's, if you divide that out per day, that's about 0.0.
He meant Strait of Hormuz. What did he call it? The Strait of Juarez? It sounded like he's thinking it's Mexican Strait.
0.09% of the world's fertilizer coming through there. And even if the U.S. only uses 30% of that, which I think is probably a really high number, that's 0.03% and per day. So we've only been in conflict for nearly 12 days here, and our fertilizer costs have jumped nearly 77%, and our corn price has only gone up by 5%. So we've got some real challenges here ahead of us.
So I would say go get your food now. Stock up while it's still low. I could see prices doubling and tripling on the basics. This is your heads up before everybody else runs to the door. We gave you those heads up during COVID, remember? Told everybody to go get your food before it disappeared. Gave you a couple weeks heads up on that one. Told you to get masks before they were going to go up. Still 25%. 25 cents a mask when I was telling everybody, go get your masks. And everybody was like, Robert, I can still get masks at 25 cents a piece. I said, well, go buy them because they're going to be a lot more expensive in a little bit. And they were like, you're just a fearmonger, Robert. Okay, well, I'm telling you right now, go get some food. Make sure that you have food stocked up because things are going to get bad. Just saying. Breaking reports of U.S. oil tanker on fire after being struck in the Persian Gulf. U.S. oil tanker on fire. YMCA, we're gonna sing it to YMCA. I just feel like I know that Trump's just doing that dance. He did the dance again recently. You know, he was sitting there dancing again. I just don't understand why he's dancing. Why is he dancing? Is it time to dance? Especially to that YMCA? Ugh, look at that. Those ones got through. Boom. Hezbollah launches large wave of missiles at Israel. So they're getting missiles through, too. It looks like they've kind of come through. Look at this. Well, it looked like some of them got through. Looked like some of them got through there. Sirens in the north of Israel. Sirens sound in Haifa and Upper Galilee. A new Hezbollah rocket attack. Now, from what I understand, they're just firing so many missiles. It's like Israel is just like, that's it. We're going in and we're going to destroy everything. So Israel's got a new campaign, I guess. They're going to be trying to rein in this missile barrage from Hezbollah. Israel media's citing U.S. official sources claims that Israel will escalate operations in Lebanon starting tonight. That's it. They've had enough. The greater Israel is now coming into view. We will level half of Lebanon. The World Economic Organization warns that black rain from U.S.-Israel strikes on Iran oil facilities could pose serious health risks, including respiratory problems and long-term cancer risks. FBI recently warned that police departments in California that Iran may attempt a surprise drone attack against targets on the West Coast, according to an internal memo cited by ABC News. The memo states that Iran allegedly considered launching unmanned aerial vehicles from an unidentified vessel off the U.S. coast if the United States carried out strikes against Iran. Though officials say they have no further information on the timing, method, targets, or perpetrators, and they probably wouldn't either until they actually happen. The warning comes as Iran has previously launched attack drones at major cities in nearby countries such as UAE, causing significant damage in past incidents.
The FBI warning of possible Iranian drone attacks on our homeland. A new alert reviewed by ABC News revealing Iran's aspirations to conduct a surprise attack specifically against unspecified targets in California. The FBI saying it's warned police departments across the Golden State now of strikes by unmanned aerial vehicles or drones as tensions rise in the Middle East. Let's get straight to our chief investigative correspondent, Aaron Kontursky. Aaron, what are you learning?
We've reviewed an alert that came within the last couple of weeks, Kira, just recently from the FBI to law enforcement agencies up and down the California coastline, warning that Iran is aspiring now to perhaps launch some kind of a retaliatory attack on the U.S. mainland using drones on the West Coast. The alert that we reviewed said an uncorroborated report suggested that unidentified Mexican cartel leaders had authorized attacks using drones carrying explosives, so they know that capability exists. And this separate alert that we've reviewed, Kira, says that Iran has those same kinds of aspirations. So the U.S. has broadly known for some time that drones could be deployed against the homeland. We know that Iran has been using drones significantly in this 12-day-old war with the United States. That's what killed the first 6 U.S. service members in this war. But now the FBI is specifically warning police agencies in California along the Pacific coastline that Iran is aspiring to use them to attack in the West.
So why California? Why the West?
Good question. And that's not exactly clear, but perhaps there's thought that Iran has these things pre-positioned on ships that are still in international waters or that could float through international waters. We know that we've previously reported, Kira, on Iran's desire to perhaps activate sleeper cells in the United States, although that's certainly far from confirmed or far from anything operational as far as law enforcement knows. It's not clear why the West Coast as opposed to the East Coast, but that's what the alert from the FBI says.
All right, Aaron Katursky, we'll stay on top of it. Thank you so much.
Ooh, scary. I think that CBS, ABC is just fear-mongering. I think they're just fear-mongers. They're just fake news. They've got Trump derangement syndrome. That's what they got. Trump derangement syndrome. They just hate Trump. They're just trying to rain on his parade here. He's doing so many great 3D chess moves here that they just can't stand it. Breaking: FBI warned police departments across California that Iran could retaliate for American attacks by launching drones at the West Coast. Okay. The Doomsday plane again was spotted flying over California. That was in Fresno today. Gotta wonder what was going on there. Why there today? Western banks evacuate Dubai offices after Iran has warned U.S. and Israeli economic centers in the Middle East will be the next targets of bombing onslaughts. So no more banking in all of these oil-rich countries. A lot of Americans are there, you know. They also said that they're going to target Google. They said they're going to target Amazon centers and also Palantir. Did you know they put Palantir in there too? Isn't that interesting? 3 ships, and this is all in these countries, supposedly, Middle Eastern countries that they have set up shop in, I guess. 3 ships hit in Gulf as Iran targets oil exporting neighbors. Vows oil prices will hit $200 a barrel. Times of Israel. And here's the hull of a ship. It's got a big old gaping hole and fire in the hole. Fire in the hole. Fire in the hole in the Gulf here. Breaking. Iran strikes Thai ship attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz. This is a Thai ship. Taiwanese or Thailand? Thailand. Yep, no good. Indians are rushing to secure cooking gas amid fears of liquefied petrol or petroleum gas or LPG storage as containers over energy supplies grow. As concerns, what did I say, containers? As concerns over energy supplies grow due to the ongoing crisis in the Middle East. So you're seeing countries all around the world now just trying to hoard as much as they can because they know that it's all drying up, if they can even get it. Iran has now started firing at ships attempting to pass through the Strait of Hormuz, completely ignoring President Trump's warning. This was earlier today, so I'm going backwards here. Iran is not let's see here. Iran says that not a single liter of oil will pass through the Strait of Hormuz if it benefits U.S., Israel, and allies. So they're going to allow oil to go through for other countries, but not the U.S., Israel, or its allies. Okay. Here's the thread on what they're going to target. Google, Microsoft, IBM, Palantir, NVIDIA, Oracle. Iran is expanding its targets. Iran has published a hit list naming Google, Amazon, Microsoft, NVIDIA, IBM, Oracle, and Palantir offices across Israel, Dubai, and Abu Dhabi as legitimate targets, according to CNN. Billions of dollars of investment are going to be destroyed. But hey, that's fake news. Once again, coming from CNN, fake news. They're just filled with Trump derangement syndrome still. This is an ongoing problem. What are we going to do to remedy this? We need to boycott what they're saying. Just stop listening. Plug your ears. Pretend like it doesn't really, they're not really saying it, and they'll go away. The war has just moved into the financial system. Okay, so there we go. Let's go back down here and see what else we got. This is just posted. Iran has struck another U.S.-owned ship. So another one, the UK MTO reports that a container ship 35 nautical miles north of Jebi Ali, United Arab Emirates, has been struck by a projectile and a fire has started on board. A U.S. ship. A U.S.-owned ship. Wow. I wonder what that is. Container ship, it says. All right, here's another one. This is Dubai. The Amar Hotel was just hit. This must have just happened.
همین ساختمون بغلی ما اینو زدنش. آتیش توشه. آتیش توشه. پشما. خاکسترشو میبینی رو هوا؟
Let's see if we can. So there is smoke up there, but there was no moment of impact video, I guess. Now, here's another interesting take on what's going on here. I kind of like this guy. His name is, his channel is called The Disturbing Illusion. The Disturbing Illusion. Does anybody know who that is? Anybody watch The Disturbing Illusion guy? Let's see here. Oops. It's this guy right here. Whoops. Let me get this down here. Anybody know that guy? You can see him. I'm in the way, I know. Get myself out of the way here. He's got some good commentary. I like listening to this guy. Listen to what he had to say. If you want to go check out his channel, it's called The Disturbing Illusion. That's his channel right there, The Disturbing Illusion. He's got about 70,000 subscribers. But listen to a little bit of his take. Let me get this so you can see it here.
Hey, welcome back to the High Impact TV channel. And to say things are a little insane right now is an understatement. A reporter just asked Trump, hey, can you clarify? Because you just suggested that the Iranians used a Tomahawk missile on their own people to blow up a girls' school. And you're the only person in the government saying this. Why did you say it? At this stage of the game, Trump's response should not shock you, even though it's pretty shocking.
Yeah. Please go ahead.
Hi, Mr. President. You just suggested that Iran somehow got its hands on a Tomahawk and bombed its own elementary school on the first day of the war. But you're the only person in your government saying this. Even your defense secretary wouldn't say that when he was asked, standing over your shoulder on your plane on Saturday. Why are you the only person saying this?
Because I just don't know enough about it. I think it's something that I was told is under investigation. But tomahawks are used by others, as you know. Numerous other nations have tomahawks. They buy them from us. But I will certainly, whatever the report shows, I'm willing to live with that report.
In other words, I don't know enough about it, so I'll make up whatever I want and pin it on whoever I want. The only nations we know of that use the BGM-109 or Tomahawk missile are the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, Japan, and the Netherlands. Iran doesn't buy and doesn't launch Tomahawk missiles. Pete Hegseth has asked a kind of difficult question from, believe it or not, the Gateway Pundit, saying, hey, a lot of people supported Donald Trump because he was anti-war. What do you say to the people who believe that Israel is basically using America for their own purposes?
Conrad's from the Gateway Pundit. Axios reported, citing U.S. and Israeli sources, that the U.S. was not happy with strikes on 30 fuel depots in Iran. While this is anonymous sourcing, it seems kind of congruent with what President Trump said yesterday, that there's certain spots they don't want to hit relating to energy infrastructure that would take a long time to rebuild. And whether this reporting is true or not, what's your message to Americans, those who supported the president and those who aren't really in favor of this war and who worry that Israel might be taking advantage of the U.S.'s backing? And then for Mr. Chairman, for you, I wanted to ask, when you say that we're moving inland, what capabilities does Iran have to shoot down jets over their land? And would that trigger some kind of rescue operation that could risk a bigger ground operation?
Well, I would just state by saying Israel's been a really strong partner in this effort. Where they have different objectives, they've pursued them. Ultimately, we've stayed focused on ours. But what Iran has felt is the power of the world's two most powerful air forces.
In other words, Israel can use the United States as a scapegoat when something goes wrong, and the United States can use Israel as a scapegoat when something goes wrong, and nobody has to be left holding the bag. Because it is the fog of war.
It's the fog of war. All right, so that's his commentary. Now, I guess Prepper has posted another video that I haven't seen. I want to just kind of listen to the first few minutes. Now, sometimes Prepper cusses a little bit. He's pagan, so we kind of understand that. He does have interesting perspectives, and usually he's pretty insightful. I like to listen to him just because he's got a lot of good geopolitical insights. A lot of people disagreed with him for a long time. I didn't. I think he was right on. But here he is. So if he does cuss, I'm sorry, but that's just kind of the way he doesn't do it bad, but he's, he does every once in a while insert certain words in there that probably not the best, but here we go.
Your World War III update. I'm just going to be blunt. The Middle East is in flames, and Iran is fighting like hell, okay? They are fighting with everything they got, and this is making the administration nervous. And I think they're about to resort to Plan B, which is to execute a false flag on American soil, which will be promptly blamed on the Iranians in order to justify a boots-on-the-ground operation in Iran. Now, look, I usually save this conspiratorial stuff towards the end of the video because I'm trying to attract an educated, critically minded audience who doesn't just succumb to the usual shock jockery. But this seems pretty clear to me what's about to happen. Trump made some statements just a few minutes ago that we're going to analyze, and this war is reaching its apotheosis. Either way, the United States is getting way more than it bargained for with this fight. The Iranians are fighting tooth and nail to stay alive right now. We are seeing oil tanker after oil tanker, after airport, after oil storage facility, after gas facility go up in flames. If you're not paying attention to what's going on in the Middle East, I can tell you this is how I felt today. Okay, and I'm wired right into this. I am locked in, and I am telling you guys, this situation is far, far worse. We could see the use of nuclear weapons this week. And I'm not even trying.
You know, he's right, and I thought about this too, the potential for nuclear weapons usage, and it would be probably the U.S. that actually uses them as a pretext or as a reason if there is some type of a black swan false flag event. Think about this. If something terrible happens here on the homeland and we blame Iran for that, justification, the whole country would be rallying behind what Trump is about to do. And, you know, God help the whole world on where that would go from there. But I believe that they are setting the stage for us to be putting the blame and pointing the finger when something happens. And it could happen anytime. I mean, I'll bet that something happens. But let's continue to listen a little more.
Trying to be sensational about it. If they're running out of options and Iran is getting close and it looks like both sides are really approaching a point of potential peril in which it seems as though they're resorting to their nuclear options. And Iran's nuclear options is to light the Middle East on fire. And in the last 24 hours, I mean, they've just been unleashing hell. And in response to that, the Israelis and the Americans are right in there trying to unleash hell. I'm going to tell you what their plan is, because their plan is to try to undermine the government by creating unrest, which is why they're targeting all the besieged paramilitary forces. They're trying to create the conditions for a civil war to foment. But, I mean, what you're looking at here is there were two tankers, and they were close together. I don't know what they were doing. Were they transferring oil between one another? But a drone hit one of these tankers, or maybe two, and it's up in flames. We've had about 6 of these incidents. Actually, no, that was 6 before this incident. So probably about 8 of these incidents within the last 24 hours, be it cargo ships, oil tankers. So, I mean, this situation is just out of control, okay? So the Navy is refusing to do escorts in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran is now threatening the Bab el-Mandeb Strait, which is another strait. This is an oil refinery that was on fire in Oman.
Whoops. Okay, so I just messed up my setting here. Hold on one second here. That was the Canadian Prepper or Prepper News. So if you want to go subscribe to this guy, it's right here, Prepper News. He's also got another channel called the Canadian Prepper. He's obviously he's a prepper. And I think it's always wise to be prepped up in every way. The most important prep is the prep of the heart. Get your heart right. Find out who the God of heaven truly is and make sure that you're ready for these times, because it's not going to be your preps that save you. They may help facilitate occupying in this world until he comes. And then when he comes, you better be ready. Because if you're not, it didn't matter how much you prepped if you're not ready for his return. Occupy until he comes. All right, how many of you guys are ready for his return? How many of you guys are ready for the return of Christ? I know that there's a lot of crazy Christians out there that, you know, make a mockery of the faith to the you know, unregenerate like this man here. I would say I'm praying for Canadian Prepper that God is going to touch his heart. He's going to see past all of the fog of the chaos that is in the Christian world and see the truth, because there is a lot of things that happen in the Christian world that turn people off. But we're trying to set the record straight and show that it is a false flag of the devil. The devil loves to do false flags in the midst of the Christian world and say he's a Christian. You know, devil comes in, tries to act like he's a believer, tries to act like he's a preacher, tries to act like he's the Holy Spirit and making everybody look crazy, all the while turning people away, like maybe Canadian Prepper. Who knows? Maybe Canadian Prepper might have a call in his life. God might be drawing him in. We never know. Let's keep praying for him. Amen. All right. But anyway, let's see what else is next. Do we have anything else to talk about I'm trying to think if there's anything else we need to talk about. There's a lot going on, obviously, but I wanted to see this just because we were talking about Tomahawks. Let's see. Tomahawk missiles. All right. Just because I wanted to see that. It's not politically correct. It's actually a racist thing. They say now, you can't do that tomahawk chop. You're making fun of Indians. All right, wait, we got one more thing here. Okay, we got some more. All right, let me see. Well, you got to put it on the main channel. All right, let's see what we got here. Oh, I see. Okay, so let's see what else we got here. U.S. Homeland Security News update. Reports now indicate multiple senior Trump officials have quietly moved into fortified military housing near Washington, D.C. Now, we knew there were high-level cabinet members that had made the move, Witkoff and I think Rubio, Kristi Noem, but I heard there's more. So there's more. This was already happening a while back, but I guess there's more. Yeah. Yep. Let's see what else we got here. This is coming from Nick Sorter. Breaking: FBI warned police departments of California within recent days that Iran may launch attack drones at West Coast targets for ABC. Okay, blah, blah, blah. Let me see. We recently acquired information that as of early February 2026, Iran allegedly aspired to conduct a surprise attack using unmanned aerial vehicles from unidentified vessels off the coast of the United States homeland, specifically against unspecified targets in California, in the event that the U.S. conducted strikes on Iran. The memo said, we have additional information on the timing, method. Oh, we have no, okay, yeah, we already said that. Iran has been attacking, launching attack drones at major cities in neighboring countries like the UAE, including the drone seen below, which caused significant damage to a hotel. Okay, so here's some footage on that.
Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God. Oh my God.
Okay, I couldn't move this for some reason. I was trying to move this up. Why am I not able to move this window? Okay, here we go. Let's try that again.
Oh my God.
You see that? That's those attack drones of the Iranians. Look. You can see it. Let's see if I can try to pick it up so I can isolate it here. Where did it go? I did see it there for a minute. Yeah, see that little triangle there? That's those Shahid drones, man. They're really fast. You see how it's nose diving? Now, think about that. If they have a bunch of these off the coast in containers and they launch them into California or targets within California, can you imagine? My goodness. That would cause an uproar, wouldn't it?
Oh my.
Would that give us justification to go into Iran with nuclear ladened? And what's crazy is they've just done this in the last 24 hours, 24 to 48, sent a huge armada of B-52s, B-1s, those B-1 Lancers, and just the type of firepower and aircraft that would have to drop large ordnance. And you would think that could even be nuclear. Nuclear. He said the N-word. Remember when Trump said that? He said the N-word, the nuclear word. We don't want to be saying that word lightly. The FBI is, there was a bunch of backlash from Kash Patel celebrating the victory of one of these, I don't know what it was, which team this was. Is this the Olympics? I don't know. But Kash Patel, FBI director, in there partying. People say this is terrible, terrible optics. Why would he be doing something like this as a sitting FBI director at a time of war? Drinking beer, throwing beer, acting like he's a crazy man. And someone put, the FBI is celebrating 0 arrests from the Epstein case. They're feeling really good about themselves about now, aren't they? Isn't that special? Feeling pretty good about yourself. CNBC says, Iran war. Trump says he's not worried about domestic terror attacks. Not until they actually happen. About 1 hour ago. Right now, they've lost their Navy. Really. Their Air Force, gone. They have no anti-aircraft apparatus at all. Really. The president said their leaders are dead. But why are they still fighting? Because they have this. They set up their military and their response for this very moment when they knew this would happen. This is how they envision this. When you have a decentralized apparatus of chain of command, right? They are all like little groups that are within themselves. They're not beholden to anybody above. When they go into that mode of operations, when they know that they're being attacked like by an overwhelming force like the U.S., they go into that mode where they all disconnect and they all continue to do their operations and they pass on. It's like a deep hole. They get hit here and they die. The ones behind them take over. And those people get hit, they got another one behind that, another tier, take over. And they continue operations deeper and deeper. It's not going to stop. I'm telling you, they're not going to stop. It's not like some of these other countries like Venezuela or what was the other one we did? Cuba. Cuba is just a basket case right now, but Cuba, Venezuela, what's the other one? Mexico. They're not set up like that. If you took out their high command and their major hubs, they would probably fold up and the whole thing would collapse. You would still have guerrillas out there probably that are, still loyalists out there fighting in the streets, but you wouldn't have an organized, still militarized attack like you do with Iran because they already planned for this. This was what they planned for. Like they planned for the end of the world. They've already planned. This is a part of their eschatology. They have already planned. The reason why they have all these military underground missile cities is because they knew one day they would be in a war with the United States and they would have nuclear responses. They knew this already. They planned for this. Remember when we started our broadcast back in 2012, 11? I think it was like 11. Actually, it was 11. I used to play the Iran bomb song. Remember that? I played the Iran bomb song all the time. You know why? Because there was a message in it. That was kind of what was coming. I won't play it now because it's got copyright stuff and I don't want to mess up the stream, but that's pretty crazy stuff there. Let's see. Silverstein Properties, funded by Larry Silverstein, purchased a 73-story U.S. Bank Tower in downtown Los Angeles for $430 million on September 2020. The firm, known for rebuilding the World Trade Center, acquired the 1,018-foot tower from QUE Ltd. during the pandemic. Under his ownership, the building underwent a $60 million renovation to modernize its lobby, create a 54th floor amenity space called the Vista, and upgraded common areas. Now, the reason why they posted this is because they're probably suggesting that this is going to be one of the buildings that's attacked. Because you know that he did the same exact thing weeks before the World Trade Centers were attacked. He did the same thing because he owned those as well. He ended up getting all this insurance, which he got paid out on, by the way, billions of dollars. He made huge amounts of money when the World Trade Centers came crashing down, because a few weeks before he pulled out, you know, if it was a human that did this to their wife and pulled out all kinds of insurance right before they supposedly had an accident and died, there would be an investigation. Wouldn't there be? But Silverstein didn't really, I don't think they really suspected him. But remember when he was being interviewed after the fact, after 9/11, remember that? Remember what he said? Does anybody remember? He's being interviewed about this. I saw Building 7 and, you know, I told them to pull it. Pull it? What does that mean? You told them to pull it before it collapsed? Really? Why did you tell them to pull it? That's like a demolition kind of command, isn't it? Let's see if we can find that. I'm kind of curious if we can find that. I'll bet you that's not even on YouTube. Larry Silverstein, pull it. And he miraculously didn't go to the World Trade Center, by the way. He finally listened to his wife and went to the doctor. He had a dermatologist appointment. He didn't want to go. He had a meeting, but just this day, just decided not to go. Just providential wisdom, I guess, just overtook his steps, watched out for him. But yeah, here he is. Here he is talking about pulling it. Let's pull it. This is 18 years ago. Just take a listen to this. Tell me there ain't nothing going on behind the scenes here.
World Trade Center 7 had always been considered the starting point for rebuilding. Located north of the slurry wall, 7 had been cleared faster than the rest of the site, and there had been no bodies to recover. Pelted by debris when the North Tower collapsed, 7 burned until late afternoon, allowing occupants to evacuate to safety.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, you know, we've had such terrible loss of life.
Well, just real quick, I just got to insert there. You know, there's just a little fire there. Just a little fire. Not that bad. Not enough to cause steel girders to just melt. Because this building didn't have any jet fuel in it. And I don't even think the main building's jet fuel would have caused steel girders to melt anyway, because it doesn't get hot enough. But it did, supposedly. And, you know, my dad's a construction guy. He's done commercial construction. And, you know, he understands how big buildings work. I asked him, I said, Dad, he didn't believe. Like he said, oh yeah, it got hot and they collapsed. I've seen it. I go, did you ever see Building 7, Dad? No, I didn't ever see that. You want to see the Building 7? Tell me what you think. Showed him Building 7 footage. Yeah, that is strange. That is odd. That doesn't make sense. Yeah, because he's a builder. He knows that doesn't happen. A little fire like this in a steel building does not make it fall in on its own footprint. It doesn't happen. It's not normal. Okay, listen.
From the fire department commander.
7 burned until late afternoon, allowing occupants to evacuate to safety.
I remember getting a call from the fire department commander telling me that they were not sure they were going to be able to contain the fire. And I said, we've had such terrible loss of life. Maybe the smartest thing to do is pull it. And they made that decision to pull, and then we watched the building collapse.
Like, what? What? Say that again? You told them to pull it? The smartest thing would do to be to pull it. I've got insurance on it already anyway. It's okay. I just took out a huge insurance policy on these buildings in case of terrorism. But they're covered, so it's okay. Let's just pull it. Yeah, let's pull it. Oh, and by the way, there was a whole bunch of things in that building that were very bad. Didn't they just lose how many $1 trillion they had said the day before? Remember? Rumsfeld's like, well, we were just missing $3 trillion. We don't know where it went. It was somewhere in that building, and it just disappeared. Maybe Epstein was in there. Who knows? I don't know. But, it's just crazy. It just doesn't make... If you don't know about all that, that's all connected to what's happening today. If you didn't know that, it's all connected. That's all connected to what's going on today. Your history tells you where your future is going to be. Because of that, we went into 7 countries. And if you missed the other day what I was showing you, I'm going to tell you. I'm going to show you again. I'm going to show you again. This will connect the dots. For those who are out there that don't know this, this is for you. This is for you. Okay? Pay close attention.
The Pentagon right after 9/11, about 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld. And
by the way, if you don't know who this guy is, his name is Wesley Clark. He's a colonel, I think like a 4-star colonel or something like that. But he wasn't I don't think he was active at the time, but he was still, first name basis, kind of somebody that always has open door policy because he's high level, right? He worked high up in military. He was top. I don't even know what his position was, but I know he was way up there. Joint Chiefs of Staff, etc. Previous administration. Okay, this guy knows. Listen to what he said.
The Pentagon right after 9/11, about 10 days after 9/11, I went through the Pentagon and I saw Secretary Rumsfeld and Deputy Secretary Wolfowitz. I went downstairs just to say hello to some of the people on the joint staff who had used to work for me, and one of the generals called me and he said, "Sir, you got to come in. You got to come in and talk to me a second." I said, "Well, you're too busy." He said, "No." He says, "We've made the decision. We're going to war with Iraq." This was on or about the 20th of September. I said, "We're going to war with Iraq. Why?" He said, "I don't know." He said, "I guess they don't know what else to do." So I said, "Well, did they find some information connecting Saddam to Al-Qaeda?" He said, No. He says, "There's nothing new that way. They just made the decision to go to war with Iraq." He said, "I guess it's like we don't know what to do about terrorists, but we've got a good military and we can take down governments." And he said, "I guess the only tool you have is a hammer. Every problem has to look like a nail. So I came back to see him a few weeks later, and by that time we were bombing in Afghanistan. I said, are we still going to war with Iraq? And he said, oh, it's worse than that. He said, he reached over on his desk, he picked up a piece of paper, and he said, I just got this down from upstairs, meaning the Secretary of Defense's office today, and he said, this is a memo that describes how we're going to take out 7 countries in 5 years, starting with Iraq and then Syria, Lebanon, Libya, Somalia, Sudan, and finishing off Iran. I said, is it classified? He said, yes, sir. I said, well, don't show it to me. And I saw him a year or so ago, and I said, you remember that? He said, sir, I didn't show you that memo. I didn't show it to you.
I'm sorry, what did you say his name was?
I'm not going to give you his name.
So go through the countries again?
Well, starting with Iraq, then Syria and Lebanon, then Libya, then Somalia and Sudan, and then back to Iran.
Somalia and
Pentagon,
Sudan
right
are Somalia and Sudan, I guess. Well, there was that Mogadishu down. I don't think that had anything to do with that. That was way before, I think. Black Hawk down in Mogadishu. But I don't think we've ever really took up on Somalia or Sudan, Somalia. Though they are making a big deal about Somalia with Minnesota thing, right? The Minnesota thing, right? The Somalis are all the criminals that are gaming our system, huh? Maybe they're trying to build a narrative to go into Somalia now. Who knows? Well, Iran was supposed to be the last one, so maybe we're at the end game. Does it make sense to you guys? What do you guys think? What's your thoughts on this? Just kind of curious. Does it make any sense? Hit the like button. Yes, Timothy Graff, thank you very much. Hit the like button, subscribe and share, and also donate to the cause. We definitely are dependent as journalists. We are viewer supported. We are not corporate. I do not have a corporate job or a corporate sponsor or anything. Full time, the more time I put into it, the more time that we can do this, right? Not to mention the fact that we're out here ministering to people as well. So just help out if you can, or go to our store and get set up so that you don't starve, or at least you don't have a lack of nutrients and vitamins and minerals and all the things that come from great, learning how to sprout or grow microgreens. But what I want to do is I want to show people how to, I didn't finish on that. I want to show people how to do it the right way, because there's a way to sprout with these kits, and it has a dome, and those are for germinating seeds if you're going to plant. But you don't really want to use the dome when you're growing microgreens. Microgreens will basically use a soil or a substrate, and there's different ones that I'm looking at here, and I'm doing it myself. And what it will do is it will get rid of most bacteriums and everything else. Sometimes if you don't know what you're doing and you do it the wrong way, you can get mold into your sprouts. You got to know how to do it. You should do it. It's not that difficult to do with these kits, but 5 tacos. Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate that, Killer Kyle. God bless. 5 tacos. Is that for Trump? 5 tacos for Trump. Trump always chickens out is what it stands for. But I want to show people how to do the microgreens, because the microgreens are where is the 7 to 10 day period. And if you do it in a substrate like coconut coir and soil mixture, and give it a little bit of, you might give it a little bit of fertilizer. Now, another thing, I want to talk to you guys about making fertilizer. You got to know how to make your own fertilizer. Okay, there is ways to do it with animals like chickens. It takes a little longer with chickens, but rabbits, ducks, fish. If you have fish, you know how to do a fish emulgent. That's why the Indians didn't, the first pilgrims didn't die, was because they took fish and they planted the fish with the plant so that it would fertilize the plant. You got to give the plant nutrients. It's got to feed. It's got to have good soil and then it has to have nutrients to extra feed it. So you got to know how to develop, and worms, you got to make sure your soil has worms in it. Get a worm farm or know somebody that has a worm farm. But anyways, I always think of Dumb and Dumber when I think about that. But the worm farm is good because if your soil has worms in it, it's going to create an environment where your food is going to grow, rich, luscious, full of everything that you need. But microgreens are, I would say, the best thing you can do, especially if you're in an environment where you don't have a big plot of ground to grow stuff in. You're going to be able to sustain life in a good, healthy way, because I think that a lot of the stuff you're getting in the stores now anyway have pesticides all over it, and especially the glyphosate. If you're not eating organic, you're eating glyphosate. You're literally eating poison on your produce. And it's in the soil too. You got to be careful with the soils that you're using, where you're growing, where you're getting it from, because these soils are all contaminated. And a lot of that is that forever chemical. And that's why so many people have cancers and everything. So you got to think about these things. Zeolite.blog. Yes, go over there and check it out and I will definitely help you guys, because I am doing it myself. I've got the grow lights and everything. And you don't necessarily need grow lights. As long as you got a nice window with some sunshine, you can put it out, you can put it there and it'll grow, and you just set them all up. I'm doing this for myself and my family, and I'm passing on things that I personally am doing. So think about it, get connected, and we'll have meetings on this. I'm going to do meetings on how to do it and go through some video. There's videos on the site too. You can look at some of the videos there, but there's more stuff that I want to tell you guys that I'm going to get down and show you the basics on. So as I learn more, because I am learning a lot right now, definitely get on board with us on that too. If you want, support the channel as well. And then we'll all be kumbaya. Hopefully we'll, be full of vitality and nutrients when Jesus returns. If we're still alive. It says the dead in Christ and those who are alive and remain will be caught up together with him. So if you're alive and remain, well, then you're going to be caught up and you'll be still here eating good, hopefully, right? Amen. I hope we're all eating good. All right, guys. God bless. I pray the Lord's richest blessings upon all of you in Jesus' name, that he go with you, be with you, keep you, and protect you in every way. And meet us again on our other channel too, BP Ministries channel. We got our videos over there if you want to get up to speed on some of the teachings and the different messages that I've given. That will help connect you to what we're really thinking and what we're really believing. Okay, so and it is all based in sound doctrinal principles and truths in the New Testament as well as the Old, showing how they all fit. And it's classic Orthodox teaching that goes all the way back to the first century. Okay, I have studied. I look at everything as I do with everything I do. I try to see the big picture. And I try to bring it down into bite-sized pieces for everybody to understand without feeling overwhelmed. And then try to lead people on into a deeper search for themselves and developing that understanding that everybody needs in order to get in. You got to have some basic truth, and you got to apply it and live by it in order to get let in. Okay, you got to have the key. I hope you're going to get the keys, because I got some keys, and you got to have some keys too to get in. Love you all. Timothy Graff, God bless you. Royal Splendor. No, okay, amen. Whatever you're talking about. Prayers for you. Thank you very much, Karen. All of you out there. I will be talking to you guys again really soon. I'm just reading some of your comments really quick before I go. Thank you for sharing the videos too. Yes, share videos. Thumbs them up. Sonny and share. Please don't go. Thank you, Freedom Deep. God bless you, sister. Until we chat again, Alexis, God bless. Judy, bless you. J-Bar, amen. All of you out there, we'll talk to you soon. God bless.